Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are stepping into what I like to call the dark and hidden world of the baby effect. We're going to put on our evolutionary psychologist hats for a bit and uncover what is essentially a biological heist. We'll be looking at how extreme evolutionary weakness, like the absolute inability to defend yourself, actually became humanity's most terrifying and effective weapon. So imagine a dark, dense forest. You're surrounded by hungry wolves and wild bears, creatures that would literally tear an intruder apart in 3 seconds flat. Now imagine a newborn, just a few days old, completely defenseless, lying on the ground. Logical, right? Evolutionary logic says this baby is an easy snack. Yet, history, lore, and biology repeatedly show us something astonishing. Why do the fiercest animals sometimes kneel before a human baby? Time and again, female predators haven't eaten these helpless creatures. Instead, they bypass their own predatory instincts, take them into their dens, and actually nurse them. Crazy, right? Now, these apex predators aren't suddenly developing some complex moral understanding of pity. No way. They are being hacked. The baby is carrying what we can really only describe as a biological atom bomb. From the very first second of birth, this hidden weapon activates, and it completely paralyzes the brains of nature's most ruthless killers. So, to understand how this incredible hack works, we really need to look at the research of Austrian zoologist Konrad Lorenz. He asked a pretty simple question. Why do we want to cuddle a puppy, but we feel absolutely nothing for, say, an adult hedgehog? Well, what he discovered is this golden evolutionary formula, known as Baby Schema, or Baby Schema. It's literally a biological design kit that evolution physically embedded onto a baby's body, specifically to force us into caregiving. And this design kit, it is terrifyingly specific. We're talking about a super large head relative to the body, a high and protruding forehead, really large eyes that sit low on the face, those chubby, puffed up cheeks, and short, chubby limbs. Now, this isn't just about quote-unquote looking cute. No, this exact combination of features is designed to initiate a really dirty game of evolutionary psychology right against the adult brain. So how exactly does this psychological warfare play out in our heads? Let's look at the hard neurological data. Scientists performed what they call an fMRI autopsy, tracking the exact real-time reactions of the adult brain when exposed to these specific baby features. And you guys, the results were staggering. The literal moment your eyes lock onto a baby's face, your orbital frontal cortex lights up like a firework. This is the brain's core reward and pleasure center. We're talking about the exact same area that activates when you bite into a delicious slice of pizza, or win big at a casino, or even consume narcotics. Evolution actually equates the sight of a baby with ultimate pleasure. It releases this massive dose of dopamine that acts as an absolute biological guarantor for the survival of the human species. And the speed of this hack is just wow, it's staggering. We're talking 0.01 seconds. In just 1/100th of a second, this biological trap springs completely shut. You don't choose to love the baby, you are biologically forced to feel intense pleasure. Evolution installed this extreme reward trap for one reason: to ensure you'll actually stick around and endure the sleepless nights, the stress, and all the extreme hardships of parenting. But here's the thing. The heist doesn't stop at just making you feel good. It's also about what it takes away. The brain experiences a temporary but very real decline of logic. This biological hack deliberately switches off your brain's judgment centers. Think about it. Why? Because rational self-preservation would tell you to run fast from a screaming, demanding creature that depletes all your resources. But instead, your logic is totally sacrificed. It gets replaced by high-pitched baby talk and this irrational, overwhelming drive to protect. To really understand why evolution required such an extreme neurological override, we have to look at the stark biological contrast here. Think about it. A baby giraffe is literally up and running in 30 minutes. Gazelles flee predators almost immediately after being born. But the human baby? It is arguably the weakest mammal on Earth. The evolutionary trade-off for having massive, highly developed human brains meant that our babies had to be born highly premature compared to other animals, basically before their heads got too large. So, if left alone for a single day, a human infant dies. Its survival depends entirely on hijacking the adults around it. Because a human infant cannot run, they can't hide, and they definitely can't fight, it had to evolve an alternative survival mechanism. Like we saw, they aren't just smiling at you, they're injecting drugs into your brain with their face. Because they are physically the absolute weakest, their only viable strategy is full-blown psychological warfare, completely taking over your reward system to guarantee their own survival. Now, do you think this biological flaw is only used by nature? Oh, absolutely not. Media giants have been reverse engineering our brain chemistry for decades. Just take a look at Mickey Mouse. Notice how he began back in 1928 with a small head and kind of rat-like features. But fast forward to the 1940s, his head is enlarged, his eyes are widened, and today, his design is fully optimized to the baby schema, literally engineered to artificially trigger your dopamine. And Mickey is just the beginning, really. We are totally surrounded by modern emotional hijackers. Think about Baymax or Baby Yoda. These characters aren't just accidentally popular. Their massive appeal is the result of a highly calculated attack on the biological weaknesses of the human brain. They weaponize the Kenshin Shima to capture your attention, and yeah, your wallet too. However, as powerful as this all is, there is a distinct vulnerability to this incredible biological superpower. The first line of defense requires visual contact. The big eyes, the chubby cheeks, that massive dopamine rush, it all relies entirely on you actually looking directly at the baby, which naturally brings us to a somewhat terrifying question. What happens when the visual hack fails? What happens when it's pitch black, or you're fast asleep in another room, and the baby simply cannot use its face to drug your brain? Well, that is exactly when the baby deploys its second weapon. It's an auditory attack specifically designed to drive your nervous system to madness. When the baby can't be seen, it uses a sound so biologically piercing that it pushes you to the absolute brink of insanity, essentially forcing you to respond. But exactly how that auditory nightmare dismantles your brain? Well, we'll have to explore that in our next explainer. Until then, keep questioning what's really in control of your mind.